I'm a trash man. Let me repeat that. I'm a trash man. And that's not the most common occupation for a Jewish guy with a degree in dramatic literature and dramatic composition. I'm frequently asked why and how I got into this business. Now, I've got a for the public consumption answer, but tonight, you're gonna hear the real thing. About 19 years ago, I was a builder, and I lost everything, as many builders do. My business failed. My wife and I, with 2 small children, we didn't know how we were going to pay next month's mortgage, much less continue our very expensive and very extensive wine and bourbon habits. Now, many of my buddies' wives and my own wife had been to see the Reverend Reed Brown, and they had all come back raving about him, going, he's the one. He told me what to do. He gave me direction in my life. My wife says to me, B, you got to go see him. You got to stop this moping around. You got to stop hanging around drinking all day. You got to go see him, find out some way to pay the mortgage. So that's how. Now, I was a little bit concerned whether she was more concerned about my future or whether she'd have to drink wine out of a box. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Reverend Reed Brown. Somewhere across the Potomac River, out Wilson Boulevard, is a little white clapboard church called the Arlington Metaphysical Chapel. Who and what it is most famous for is its current pastor emeritus, the Reverend Reed Brown. There's no way to sugarcoat this. Reverend Brown is a psychic. Not like Dionne Warwick or Miss Cleo. Reverend Brown is the real thing. Now, I know all of y'all are sitting there thinking, oh yeah, the real thing. There is no real thing. And trust me, that's what I was thinking. But my buddy and Halsey and I, we thought, hey, this is a great opportunity. We know all the tricks, a way to ask a question, hidden microphones. We're going to show him up to be the charlatan that he is. And in the process, show our wives up to be the suckers that they were. So, one brisk fall afternoon, Halsey and I find ourselves in a parking lot in Arlington. And we're sitting there. We're sitting there. Reverend Brown in advance tells you to write down 3 deceased people you want to talk with and 3 questions you want answered. And we're sitting there, and we're sitting here with the 3x5 cards, covering them up because we know there are cameras up in those trees. And we're sitting there, and we're writing them down, and we go in, and right away, Halsey's whisked in. He goes in for his session. 35 minutes later, he comes out. He's all glassy-eyed. Maybe. And I'm going, come on, what? Maybe what? But before I can get anything out of him, they usher me in. Now, I go into this room, 10 by 12 nondescript room, 2-seater couch, hardback chair on each side, and standing before me is a gentleman who looks like Mr. Rogers, plus 40 pounds, all the way down to the patches on the elbows of his sweater. He looks like any one of half a dozen Protestant ministers I'd met over my life. Good afternoon, Barney. Have a seat. Take out your card and put it in your hand. I did as instructed. He sat down. He covered my hands. It didn't feel weird because he was a man of the cloth afterward. He sat there for a minute, 2, 3 minutes. And he goes, I'm here with someone. It's Paul. Is this your father? And I go, oh, yes. How hard is this one to guess, all right? You know, a guy wants to talk to his father. He can get the name out of vital records. It's no big deal. He doesn't have much to say. Oh, wait a minute. He has nothing to say. Oh my goodness, he's leaving already. Now, my father and I basically had a non-existent relationship, so that pretty much fit my father and I. You know, some kids, they're out back playing catch with their dads and having a great time, and some kids are stealing their dad's cars. Guess what I did? He sits and he holds my hand some more, or covers it some more, and says, Oh, there's someone else here. He's very tall. There are people all around him. Yossi, was auf the top, Yossi? Now, for those of you who don't speak Yiddish, that was Joseph, what are we to do, Joseph? Now, at this point, I'm going, this is a little bit more than parlor tricks, because I had a great uncle Joseph who was a Trotskyite leader before, during, and after the Russian Revolution. Now, I'm looking across at Mr. Rogers, and I'm hearing, Barney, what are you doing for the working man? Why do you only care for yourself? Why don't you make other people's lives better? I'm hearing this radical Russian revolutionary, and I'm looking at Mr. Rogers again. Well, Reverend Brown was on the money with the first two people on my list, and then the third, my best friend Don, dead before his time. Now, how would he fare with my questions? He covered my hands again. We just sat there. And he looks at me and he says, you must choose. The first question, you must continue searching. I'm sorry. You must continue searching. The first question on my list was, will I ever find true love? I know there was a wife there somewhere, and marriages start with love and lust and true love. And they're different things. And most of them don't end with anything. And then Reverend Brown, he looks at me and he covers my hands again, and he says to me, you must choose. And I knew the second question on my list was, will I ever realize my creative potential? For my whole life, I've had this whole conflict between politics and being a writer and being a capitalist pig. And that was the choice I had to make. But the third question was the one that I was there for. The third question on my little 3x5 card was, should I go into the trash business? You see, I had been considering trash or plumbing as my next career move. And he sits, and he covers my hands, and we sit for a minute, 2, 3 minutes, and he says to me, I see a pink. No, I see a purple Cadillac. Do you know anyone with a purple Cadillac? I sit and I think, I got this buddy Doug, and Doug's got a deep blue caddy, but not a purple caddy. He goes, no, it's purple, and I know a woman with a purple Cadillac. She's in the trash business. And then all of a sudden, Reverend Brown, he leaps up and he starts going, trash, 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 trash. Now, I took those lyrical words of Reverend Brown's and a 15-year-old used pickup truck, and I built this city's largest trash business. All those big, bright orange trash trucks you see all over town, those belong to me. And I did it because Reverend Brown told me to. And it sure beats plumbing.